Hey everybody, it's Chase with AV Pop Culture again, and today we are here to take a look at 10 of the most graphic recent releases on physical media. Everything from comedy to action, you know the type of movies, graphic sex, adult content, violence, all that stuff. You know what I'm talking about. So pop that tape in. I got you. Let's go do this. All right, so graphic mainstream releases on physical media. Man, let me tell you, I was watching a movie last night that happened to be PG-13, and I thought, you know what? There has been some wild stuff released lately, and even though that one was PG-13, it definitely fit the bill in some ways. And I thought, you know, I've got a few here lately that I've watched that kind of are graphic, and fortunately, some of these are out there where you can try before you buy. If you're into that on streaming, whether it's Tubi, Max, whatever, if you have that. I'm a physical media guy. I'm going to get these mainstream releases. If I want to watch them, I'm going to get them on physical media. But I do try before I buy every now and then. Sometimes, though, I go in blind, which is the case with a few of these. Now, we have everything from dark comedy to action, drama, classics, all kinds of stuff. Everything may not be for everybody, so keep that in mind. But we're going to jump right into the list. And number 10 here is a recent release from Imprint. This is 2002's Secretary. Now, this is a dark comedy, stars Maggie Gyllenhaal and James Spader. And this one definitely may not be for everyone. Maggie Gyllenhaal is James Spader's secretary, as you may have guessed. And if you can tell a little bit from the cover art here, you might know what you're in for. They develop an interesting work relationship, let's just say. It's sort of the, you know, the dominant and submissive type relationship. It explores some boundaries, let's just say, and it leaves those boundaries way over there and crosses them. If you've ever wanted to see Maggie Gyllenhaal with a saddle on her back and a carrot in her mouth pretending to be a horse in an office while she's a secretary, this is the movie for you. The interesting thing is these two people find each other through their kinkiness, let's say, and through the things that they are into, and they connect. And they even acknowledge they can't live this way 24/7, but the bond that they built together through this is pretty strong. And assume the position with Secretary. It is an actually enjoyable film. I had seen this one before I bought it, so this was not a blind buy. I knew what I was getting into. You're going to see things that maybe push your boundaries a little bit, but definitely worth checking out. Secretary, recent nice release here by Imprint, comes in at number 10. At number 9 is one that I've talked about on the channel before. If you follow me, this is a movie that was a blind buy, but I feel like back in the 90s, you could have very well saw this movie on Skinamax late night if you had that. And this actually stars Linda Blair and the late Julia Strain. I am talking about Sorceress. And this is a dark comedy / supernatural erotic thriller. You have two different men who are working at a law firm. They both happen to be in relationships, are married to witches who know each other, and use that power, their witch power, for good or bad to help their husbands. Now, this thing, you might think it's just a low-budget schlock film. It really isn't. There's some big action sequences in this film. There is huge car wreck, things that they pull off, big stunts. They do use, a little bit of the older school effects for some of the witch powers in this. And I've often said this one feels a little bit like Linda Blair is in a whole separate movie because she rarely interacts with everybody. And while she's in the movie a lot, she's almost self-contained away from everything. But if you want like a witchy threesome, or, I mean, look, you know what you're getting into right away. The late Julia Strain is pretty much completely nude in the menu for this movie. And she is not in very many clothes most of the time. And she is not the only one. I'm just going to say that. But not the best movie on the list. But if you are definitely looking for that adult content, a throwback to the old Skinamax days with, a little bit of supernatural horror flavor thrown in and a recognizable face like Linda Blair, Sorceress is the movie for you. Just keep all of that in mind. At number 8 on the list is the most recent release of any of these, like within the past couple of weeks. I got this from MVD Rewind Collection, and I am talking about 1979's Cheerleaders Wild Weekend. Now, this thing is actually masquerading under this new title. It had another title, which was, I think it was the Great American Girl Robbery. So if you go to IMDb to look up this one, it is a little bit harder to find. So you might need to look it up under the other title. If you ever wonder about any of these, you can go into IMDb online and you can go to the parents guide, and it can tell you kind of like what's in these movies, at least a general what to expect as far as violence, nudity, sexual situations, language, all that kind of stuff. This movie is interesting. It almost doesn't know what it wants to be. It stars Kristen DeBell, and it says Jason Williams on here, but it also stars another actress, Marilyn Joy, who is very famous for being in like the Elsa movies, the Elsa She-Wolf films, the very exploitation movies. And that's kind of fitting because this movie is very much like a 1970s, late 1970s drive-in, grindhouse exploitation classic that meets an 80s sex comedy. And that is a very hard needle to thread, and it's almost like two different movies put together, because you have these three sort of warring factions of cheerleaders, Bring It On style, like high school comedy style. They get thrown together to go compete. They're on a bus together, and the bus is actually taken over by this group of people who are trying to get money and hold them for ransom. And they force them to do all kinds of, striptease, beauty pageants, all this kind of stuff. It becomes a very much a women in prison movie almost there in the middle, like an exploitation film, like I mentioned before. The women are even though they're having to do this, they end up being ass kickers. So it's, like I said, it's one that is not going to be for everybody. It is multiple different sort of genres and feels sandwiched together, but definitely an interesting release, one that fits the bill on this list. Cheerleaders Wild Weekend, it'll grab you by the pom-poms. It comes in here at number 8. At number 7 on the list is one that's about a year or two old, from Vinegar Syndrome. And this movie is actually from 1990, but feels very much like an 80s movie. I am talking about Invisible Maniac. This is actually a really great 4K release here. And I'm not sure if you're a try before you buy streaming person where you can find this one on streaming. I don't know if it's out there. But this one is... I actually like this one a lot. I thought it was a lot of fun. The main guy in this movie is basically a mad scientist type, and it starts when he is a kid, and he's a little pervert. Like, he likes to spy on women. He likes to see women, changing clothes and all this stuff. And of course, he gets caught. He gets punished for this, but he never grows out of it. He's brilliant though, and he is trying to develop a serum to turn you invisible. He presents this at a collegiate board of his peers, and let's just say it doesn't work, and they make fun of him, and that does not work out well for them. 4 of them don't make it, and he gets sent to the loony bin, of which he eventually gets out. And he continues his research. He perfects the serum while he is working in a high school teaching summer school. So a lot of this takes place in a high school, and they're saying it's summer school. That way they don't have to fill the school out, because it is definitely a low-budget film. He turns himself invisible. And what does he do? The first thing he does is he begins spying on all the girls, the locker rooms, everything else. But he kind of gets caught. He's kind of driven mad a little bit, and he begins to kill them. So you have the Invisible Maniac. This one's actually a lot more fun. This is one of those, you laugh, you enjoy, you throw popcorn at the screen. But it is very gratuitous. You're going to see a lot of stuff in locker rooms and everything. Very voyeuristic fantasy there, and mixed with like a high school sex comedy and slasher film. So you're going to get a little bit of all that. And a very nice looking 4K release here by Vinegar Syndrome. Invisible Maniac comes in at number 7 on the list. At number 6 on the list, we're going back to the MVD Rewind collection again. This one is a quintessential 80s sex comedy in the vein of Revenge of the Nerds, which came out like a year later. I am talking about 1983's Joysticks. Now, this actually stars Joe Don Baker as sort of...
Kids play with their joysticks day in and day out, jerking back and forth.
The heavy in this, if you want to say, Joe Don Baker of Walking Tall, tons of other movies. But the key to this is it's very 80s centered, because it's an arcade, a video arcade out by a beach. And of course, the big businessmen, they want to come in and basically close it down and take it over. And a bunch of the people who love going there, the patrons who hang out at the video rental store or the video arcade, they're not having it. They band together with some of those who work there. They're going to stop them. All that while they are having fun, getting up to sexy shenanigans. There's lots of bathing suits going on, tiny bikinis, nudity. It is 100% a 80s sex comedy that is just quintessential 80s from that regard. You've got all the arcade stuff that you want, beach fun. Oh, I mean, man, it just has its finger on the pulse of that 80s romp of a sex comedy. And it is loaded with nudity, sexual situations, language, but it is more of a slapstick, fun kind of comedy. Not to be taken too serious at all. You get a lot of great 80s vibes from it, but Joysticks is pretty fun. I enjoyed watching it, and glad to have it on this Rewind collection. It is actually number 58 of MVD's Rewind collection. 58. My football number and my son's football number. Just a little bit of fun trivia there, and a whole lot of fun. Coming in at number 5 on the list is a recent 4K release, just a couple of months ago, by Cult Epics Films, and this is a Tinto Brass film, Tinto Brass film called Cheeky. Now, this one is from 2000, though it feels a little bit older. This is a great looking 4K right here, and what this is Carla, who is Italian, Venetian, I believe. She is in London looking for an apartment for her and her boyfriend, but she is sort of like hyper horny. She is very sexually promiscuous. She enjoys flashing herself about just to get reactions from other people. Very sexually driven person, and she's enjoying kind of being in this new area where people are enjoying looking at her. She actually gets into a little fling with the female real estate agent. She gets into a fling with a different guy on the beach. She's sort of flashing about town. She's very cheeky. She's laughing. She's having a good time. All of this stuff. But then her boyfriend gets to town and he finds out about all this. And it's going to be, does he forgive her for that? It's actually a very light comedy. It's probably the most light-hearted thing that Tinto Brass has ever done, because there's like no malice in anything, but it is very, very heavy on the nudity and sexual situations. It is a very adult movie, even though it is a it's also very light. It's very light. You could actually call this, maybe this one leans into a little bit more of erotic cinema, but it is a mainstream release. And the lead actress here did a great job. And the 4K restoration here is absolutely outstanding. If you're getting Tinto Brass, you know what you're getting into. And this one has a great 4K for you to see everything that you're going to get into. So Cheeky comes in at number 5. At number 4 on the list is a fun one from Frank Henenlotter. This one also feels very 80s, even though it's right there on 1990. I am talking about Frankenhooker. I mean, this is like one of Henenlotter's classics. He's got Basket Case and stuff too, but a terrifying tale of sluts and bolts. I mean, this is a dark comedy horror, a budding scientist, if you will, Frankenstein style. His girlfriend dies in a most violent, graphic way, so you have that on here. And he decides he is going to reassemble her from the choicest parts of the best looking hookers that he can find. And this Joe Bob Briggs talks about this movie a lot. He says it's the best of 1990 as far as a horror movie goes. Definitely a old school throwback, just campy, sexy horror. But because of the nature of it, it is full of not just a lot of graphic sort of violence, horror violence, with, you know, you're Frankensteining people together, but you also have a lot of nudity because of it. And the movie is a lot of fun. A nice looking Blu-ray here released by Synapse. You got to have some Frank Henenlotter on a list like this, and Frankenhooker comes in at number 4. At number 3 on our list is a much more serious film from 1979, I believe this is. No, it's 1980. That's what I was thinking. I was like, man, this one feels like it's 70s, but turning the page to the 80s. A great 4K release here by Kino Lorber that's actually being re-released on 4K by Arrow. I'm talking about Brian De Palma's Dressed to Kill. Now, this thing feels very much like a giallo film to me in a lot of ways. De Palma has a lot of style that is very much Hitchcock-like, and he shoots a lot of style like Hitchcock, dolly zooms, Dutch angles, tight frame-ups on eyes and things like that. But in this movie, those work out more to a giallo film effect, especially the killer in this, a mysterious blonde, has this big straight razor that she kills with. The film stars Michael Caine, Angie Dickinson, and Nancy Allen. Nancy Allen works with De Palma on a couple different films. She also works on Blowout. But this movie, from what I understand, also had a X-rated release. And if you watch just the first couple of minutes of this movie, you will understand why. To say it has graphic nudity is an understatement. In the shower scene, let's just say there are close-ups. And it is very sex heavy, which is very De Palma like. And then you add in the violence and the kills that are very giallo style. It's very interestingly shot. Michael Caine in the movie is a therapist, a psychiatrist, and Angie Dickinson is going to see him. And she is, having problems in her marriage, or at least she thinks she is. It seems like it's going pretty good there, but she is very sexually driven too. She has random encounters, and that leads her down a path to her ruin. And then we are trying to figure out the killer, solve this mystery. Like I said, it's very much a giallo film to me, and I can understand how it could be X-rated, especially if you let a few of those scenes linger just a few more seconds. It is right on that line. This is got a little something for you if you like mysteries, if you like giallos, if you're a fan of De Palma, if you want to see a little bit of, extra graphicness with a film like this. Dressed to Kill is for you. Great looking 4K release here by Kino. I imagine the one from Arrow is going to look great as well since it's the same transfer. I think you can maybe stream this if you're a try before you buy type person, but Dressed to Kill, high recommend. Brian De Palma, Big fan. So it comes in at number 3. At number 2 on our list, promise you guys a little bit of action. We stepped it up a little bit with Dress to Kill, but now we are going all in with 2006's Crank. Now this stars Amy Smart, but the main star here is Jason Statham as Chev Chelios, who is given a poison, a Beijing cocktail, in which he cannot let his heart rate slow down. He has to keep his adrenaline up the whole movie. So he is doing every kind of crazy action sequence that he can. Crazy driving, fighting, killing people, picking fights with drug dealers, and of course, having sex. There are some very hot scenes in here with him and Amy Smart. And it is just the way it's presented is just ridiculous, riotous fun. But I mean, when you talk about action violence, graphic action violence, nudity, graphic language, sexual situations, all that stuff, it is all here. Crank 2 even kicks it up another level. Maybe that one will be on another list. But Crank is, it says a hardcore action classic. I could not agree more. If you've seen the movie, this scene right here, as he is trying to, let's just say, keep his heart rate and other things up while driving down the road, shooting at bad guys. Amy Smart helps him with that on more than one occasion. This movie is absolutely batshit crazy, fun, adrenaline-pumping ride from beginning to the end. You even get a appearance here by Dwight Yoakam, the country singer turned actor, as the doctor in this. An adrenaline-filled fuel thrill ride. I cannot agree more. And a graphic one to boot. Probably not one that you want to watch with your kids or your teens even. So Crank comes in at number 2. A hell of a fun ride. And at number 1, there's no question on this one again for me. This is a recent release by Umbrella. This is Tinto Brass's classic film. I want to say more of his infamous film, and I am of course talking about Caligula. Now, Caligula has been one of those that has been more infamous than famous since its beginning. Now, it definitely is famous, and you have Umbrella here who has done multiple new cuts of the film in 4K. They have put together an entire new film, the ultimate cut, of footage that was never used before. So that one is different and still very adult themed, still has nudity, all that kind of stuff. But if you want the full adult experience here, you are going to go with the original cut of this. Gore Vidal was one of the main writers here. Of course, Malcolm McDowell playing the title character of Caligula. Beautiful Helen Mirren in this. She is absolutely stunning in this movie. You have Peter O'Toole in here. The movie's actually loaded with talent, but Penthouse got involved. And of course, Tinto Brass is definitely he leans a little bit to the naughty. But you know that when there was a special Penthouse Caligula episode or issue, and this is the replica of that, you know when that's going down, what you're getting with Caligula. They actually have extras who were adult film stars and extras that they just paid more to do actually explicit sex scenes in this movie. And when I say explicit, I mean adult content explicit. And that is in the original cut of the film. So if you want the full meal deal, you want all of that stuff. I mean, Caligula was a messed up guy. I used to teach history, so what's in here is not off the mark. Part of the fall of the Roman Empire, in fact, was their focus on so much sex. They stopped doing a lot of other stuff. But you have a couple cuts that you can choose from in here. If you want to see the new cut, it is still loaded with adult content. It just doesn't have all that explicit scenes, but the original does. So if you want to see what made this movie so infamous, it is going to be high on the level of a movie with graphic, language, violence, sexual content, nudity, all that stuff. If you're looking for all of it, you watch the original cut of Caligula, and then, it's not for everybody. You may need to take a shower afterwards. Maybe a cold shower, or you might want to scrub the creepiness off of you. Either way, Caligula fits the bill at number 1 on this list. But it is just a fun list. I thought I would take a look at these. And it's so funny that there was actually a pretty graphic but fun PG-13 movie that got me thinking about this, and I thought I would share some of these with you. If you like this, we can definitely do more, whether it's graphic, horror, combination of all that. There's definitely some content out there that I would say fits the bill, and a lot of stuff that we're not thinking about, and kind of pushes the envelope just a little bit. And it can be anywhere for, obviously a lot of stuff is on streaming, but when you get it on physical media, it can come from anywhere from Criterion to Vinegar Syndrome and all points in between with that kind of content. And movies are art, and art is very subjective, and sometimes it is graphic. But that is what I've got for you today. If you enjoyed this, please let me know. Let me know some movies that you had to kind of watch like this because of the content. And we just have a little bit of fun with it. We do all kinds of things here. Physical media news, 4K reviews, lists, rankings, all that kind of stuff from a fan and filmmaker's perspective. If that is something that sounds like it's your jam, please like and subscribe. Ring the bell so you don't miss any videos. And share this, spread the pop culture word. If you want to help support the channel even more, you can join below at my Patreon link or right here on YouTube. Become a channel member, get your name in lights, behind the scenes special looks at my filmmaking, special members only videos, and so much more. And it really does help out the channel. The same with the Amazon links below or the merchandise links below. All that stuff helps out the channel when you click it and use it, and I really, really do appreciate it. Looking forward to a big year here, and until next time, be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.